Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at a place called Barbury Castle Country Park in Wiltshire, and it's located about 4 miles south of Swindon in the North Wessex Downs area of outstanding natural beauty. We're going to be walking a roughly 5.5 mile circular route with a couple of detours. We'll start with a look at the Barbury Castle Hillfort, then head east along Smeathe's Ridge, along the Ridgeway, to the village of Ogbourne St George. We'll have a look at a few things around the village there before making our return journey westwards, back up to Burderop Down and then back to the country park. And I expect there'll be plenty of interesting things to see along the way. Now, I'm filming in the middle of November. The sun is out, which is amazing because the last 2 or 3 weeks in the south of England it's just been under a thick grey cloud, so we're certainly going to make the best of the weather today. And a little bit of a wind there, so Logan's got his winter coat on for the first time this winter. Okay, well, I've parked my car for free at a car park up here, and we'll start off with a walk with a little detour to the west to check out the Barbury Castle Hillfort. Well, here we are at our first destination, the Barbury Castle Hillfort, and it sits on top of Barbury Hill. And we're quite high up here, something like 262 metres above sea level, one of the highest spots in the area. And it's an Iron Age hill fort created around about 700 BC, and it was used up until the Roman invasion. The Saxons probably used it afterwards. And I was reading that it was actually used in the Second World War with anti-aircraft guns up here. But it's one of a string of forts along the Ridgeway. You've got Liddington Castle to the north of here. And the fort itself covers about 5 hectares. There are double ramparts all the way around, with possibly a third unfinished rampart to the north. A couple of entrances, one to the east and one to the west. And north of the fort was a Roman enclosure, and southwest of the fort was a medieval village. And there are a few Bronze Age burial mounds in the area and a bowl barrow to the northwest. And it's actually been managed as a country park by Swindon Borough Council since the early 1970s, I believe. Well, you certainly get some stunning views from the top of the fort. This is looking over to the north in a very far distance. I can just about make out Swindon. It's quite hazy. And this is looking over to the sort of west and southwest. You really get a great view of how deep the ditch is between the two ramparts. And then this is looking over to the east where we came from. The car park is behind those trees on the brow of the hill there. Well, I think we'll have one last look at the views up here, and then we'll head back to the car and then continue on with the main part of the walk, which will be over to the east. Well, just for information purposes only, for any folk that might be doing this walk, it's always useful to know that there are toilets at the car park. We're just passing by the stables of Neil King, horse racing trainer. Of course, just down in the valley to the south, there's the training establishment of Alan King. Well, it's a bit sunnier today than the last few days. There's some race horses that have been out for training this morning. Looking beautiful, their coats lovely and shiny in the sun this morning, aren't they? But just to give you a little update on the route, this track that we've been coming down just past the racing stables, believe it or not, back in the mid-18th century, it was a turnpike road. I think it was turnpiked in 1762, and the route goes through 4 Mile Clump. But we now need to start heading, say, eastwards, going slightly downhill, joining the Ridgeway. Oh, I really am enjoying this. It's lovely to see that sun again. So we're on something called, I think it's called Smeathe's Ridge, going downhill, and we're on the Ridgeway, a real ancient track that goes along the top of chalk hills, and it goes all the way from Avebury in the south of Wiltshire to Ivanhoe Beacon in Buckinghamshire. Well, you can really see why this is such a good area for training racehorses. Just looking over on the left-hand side there's a strip of grass right up against the fence. That's the gallops. And then just looking down into the valley below there, I can see quite a few jumps, hurdles and fences used for training. A little pit stop to take in the views. So unfortunately, bit more cloud about now, so a little bit dark out there. So in the very far distance, that's Ogbourne St George, a little village that we'll be heading to shortly, and in the valley below you can just about see the main road. That's the Marlborough to Swindon road. Well, just before we drop down into Ogbourne St George, this is probably a good spot to show you the area that was once a military camp. Just looking into the fields in front of me, it was called Ogbourne Camp, and it shows on a 1960 map. I mean, there's nothing there now, but I say it was a military camp established around about 1940, I think. But I think everything was removed by 1980. Well, we've had a lovely section of the walk heading downhill along the Ridgeway. We're now going to leave the Ridgeway and head into the pretty village of Ogbourne St George. I've also changed the camera, although well, the sun is out from time to time, it is quite dark, so I've changed from the GoPro to the Ace Pro, and I'll use the low light setting. Some of the colours today We haven't really had much of a glorious autumn, but you can probably see behind me the leaves definitely turning that lovely golden yellow now. Now this little footpath here is going to take us into the village. I think we're going to see the church first. Now Ogbourne St George was actually recorded in the Domesday Book as Ogbourne. They thought that the word Ogbourne was first used as far back as 946 AD, and it was known as Great Ogbourne in the 12th century, as well as North Ogbourne in the 13th century, but it became known as Ogbourne St George in the 14th century, and it gets its name from the river Og, which flows through the village. The source of that is just to the north at Draycott Foliot. It's only about 2 miles long, and it flows south to the edge of Marlborough, where it joins up with the river Kennet. The St George part of the village name comes from, well, the church, which is the Church of St George. Now, just as we're making our way towards the church, which is just behind those trees, I think this is roughly the site of where there was once an abbey in the Middle Ages. The manor belonged to the Benedictine Abbey of Bec in Normandy. An Ogbourne Priory was founded here in 1149 as a daughter house for the abbey. But everything was destroyed in the dissolution of monasteries in the mid-16th century, and I don't think there's anything left today. And there's the manor house, which was built here on the site of the priory in or around 1619 or 1659. I've seen a couple of sources, and it's been remodelled since. Well, this beautiful church is the Church of St George. There was probably a church here before 1066, but the present church began to be built in the late 12th century or early 13th century and has been rebuilt several times since. There was a big restoration in 1873, and there's a lovely sundial over the arch there of the porch, and it consists of a nave, a chancel, a north and south chapel, a south porch, a west tower. I think it's got 5 bells. The earliest bits remaining are the chancel arch and the south aisle, which are both from the early 13th century. Oh, looks like there's a mass dial on the right hand side of the porch entrance there. Lovely to see. Well, we'll have a quick peep inside. And over there's the font, which is octagonal shaped. I think that dates from the 15th century. A beautiful stained glass window on the northern side of the nave. And there's the organ, again on the northern side. And a wooden pulpit, which I think dates from the 19th century, and just going through into the chancel. Quite stunning stained glass window above the altar there. That really is quite splendid. And also in the chancel here you've got this wooden board. It's terrific. Beautiful church. Well, having left the church, we'll have a little wander through the village and just crossing over the delightfully named River Og. I love the willow tree there on the left. Oh, what a beautiful cottage with the thatch and the timber frame. Quite delightful. Oh, I love this one. Park cottage. Thatch and also the sort of stone and flint infill. Gorgeous. Well, I'm guessing that at one stage that was the old village store and post office. And here is the village pub, the Inn with the Well, originally called the Crown. But there's been a pub on the site since 1658, at least that's what it says on the wall outside, but may well have been here as early as 1647. I've just been speaking to a lovely lady, a local, who tells me that sadly I don't think it's a pub anymore, it's just a guest house. And just on from the pub is a bridge. Now, the old railway line used to go over that bridge. It's now the realigned A346 Swindon to Marlborough Road that goes over it. The railway line is long gone. In fact, the village used to have a station here. Both the station and line opened in 1881. It was the Swindon, Marlborough and Andover Railway that became the Midland and South Western Junction Railway and then the Great Western Railway, but it all closed in the 1960s. And just beyond the bridge, actually on the other side of where the railway line was a Roman road. I think it was the Cirencester to Winchester Roman Road. Well, what a quite enchanting village Ogbourne St George is. Okay, we're now going to start heading westwards on the homeward leg back up to Barbury Hill, and I fear it's going to be uphill all the way. That normally wouldn't be a problem, but 2 days ago I did a 12.5 kilometre trail race with Fiver, my younger Whippet, at Goodwood in West Sussex, and it was very, very hilly and my legs are still struggling. As long as I keep moving, I'll be all right. Well, a little update on the route. Now, on the left hand side, that's the Ridgeway track that we came down on the outward journey, but on the return journey we're going to take the track to the right, which is a bridleway. Initially I think it'll just be along the bottom of the valley before it starts to go uphill. I wonder if those old concrete posts are what remains of that 1940 military camp. It kind of looks World War II-ish, doesn't it? Well, I might be totally wrong though. Now folks, somewhere in front of me, left to right, there was once a rifle range. It only shows on a 1960 map, not on a current one and not on a, say, a Victorian one. But it's long gone. I think it just sort of crosses from left to right here. I think. I'll vaguely say it's here. The usual pit stop. I need to get my breath back, but also just to take in this view. So looking over to the east. Oh goodness me, you're probably not going to be able to see this. I might have to get my camera and put the zoom on, but there's a balloon just appeared above the horizon. Be a bit chilly up there today, I would have thought. Interesting seeing all this sort of rubble here. We're just passing by a place, well, it shows on a 1900 map as Herdswick Farm. Indeed, it was called Heswick Farm on an 1887 map, but it's actually long gone. I'm wondering if this is part of the old building, because it certainly isn't on a 1960 map. Well, another little update on the route. We've been following a path along the side of a field It looks quite dark there because the sun's beginning to go down now, and it's behind those trees. And this is where we join up with another bridleway, I think. We're just about to start the ascent of Burderop Down. Now there should be a boundary stone here. Well, there is a stone of sorts. Whether that's it or not, I'm not convinced. I can't see any other stones around here though. You can probably hear some shooting going on in the background. I think there's a shooting club over to my right, but of greater concern is what's in front of me here. A rather steep hill. Oh well, we're nearly at the end. Come on, Logan, pull me up. Well, here we are at the top of Burderop Down, and this is the Burderop Stone. It's basically a memorial stone to a couple of chaps. The first one is Richard Jefferies, who was an English nature writer. He was born at Cote on the southern side of Swindon. And there's a quote up here from The Story of My Heart, my autobiography. I'll read you the full quote actually. "It is eternity now, and I am in the middle of it. It is about me in the sunshine. I am in it as a butterfly in the light-laden air. Nothing has to come. It is now. Now is eternity. Now is the immortal life." And just on the other side is another plaque, and this is for Alfred Williams, who was a poet and writer born at South Marston on the northeast side of Swindon. And there's a quote there as well. "The joy found in every hill and hollow, and the company in the solitude." What a super place to have a memorial stone with the views of the valley below. Well folks, we've come to the end of our walk. It's not too far to go to the car at the car park. What a beautiful place to end as the sun sets right by this memorial stone, with these views to the north and Swindon and beyond. We hope you enjoyed our walk today. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment, and do check out our Facebook page, Dave's Countryside Walks. So until we meet again, thanks for watching, and cheerio. Yeah, no pub today I'm afraid, but time for some doggy bicks. Right, we should get back before it gets dark.